All right, how's everybody doing today? We're just out here for a quick little vlog ride down my neighborhood greenbelt on the new YT Capra that I just bought. Just getting some exercise in during the week. Unfortunately, we're not out here on a trail, and the reason for that is because I actually had a big crash about a week ago. Unfortunately, the wooden feature collapsed and I fell about 5-6 feet on my back, and the bike fell on me, and part of the wooden feature fell on me. So I got pretty banged up. Taking now probably over a week off, so I really haven't had a good chance to ride the Capra, get used to it, start to get comfortable with it at my beginner level of riding, try to understand what my capabilities and limits are on this bike compared to my X1 Enduro that I had, the e-bike, which I recently got rid of. But from the limited experience that I have riding this bike, I absolutely love it for the reasons that I did not like my e-bike. And the major reason is because the e-bike was very heavy and this bike is very light. So we're just out here taking a nice little cruise, trying to keep our legs in shape, try to get some exercise. That way when I do head out to my local trails, I don't end up too fatigued and exhausted. Now that is pretty difficult because out here where I live in North Texas, it's between 90 and 100 degrees every day. So that doesn't really help either. But other than that, it's nice, sunny, beautiful. I think as long as you stay safe, you can just go out, enjoy riding your bike, have a good time. Good for your heart, good for your mind. If you can't go out on the trail, it doesn't hurt to just ride around your neighborhood, as long as you're staying safe and doing what you got to do. Now, one thing I will say is I was completely unprepared for how big of a workout it would be to ride a regular bike compared to an e-bike. Now, I have been riding bikes all my life, like most people as a kid, but I've never been actual mountain biking. And I think riding the e-bike spoiled me a bit and gave me a false idea, in a sense, of what mountain biking will be like when you're actually out on the trails. I mean, riding an e-bike is absolutely effortless. I mean, you could ride for hours and feel very little fatigue, which is what I experienced in my first ownership of a mountain bike, which was an e-bike. I would go ride 2 hours a day, ride 8, 9, 10, 12 miles up and down single track, my local trails, blue line trails, nothing too extreme because I am fairly new to this. But I would always leave thinking to myself, man, I want to ride more. I want to ride more. Now, to some people, that's a good thing. And at the end it is, but to most people, I mean, you don't have 4, 5, 6 hours a day to ride a bike. As an adult, you've got responsibilities, things you need to take care of. Here's my local skate park over here. It's pretty nice. As I was mentioning, I wouldn't feel any fatigue. I'd go home thinking, man, 2-3 hours later, I'd feel like, man, I want to go ride again. But you can't. You got responsibilities, you got work, you got a family to take care of, and so on and so forth. So, as I said, that's a good thing and a bad thing. If we talk about why I got rid of the e-bike, I can tell you exactly why. First off, I absolutely loved the bike. I thought it was great value for money. It was absolutely insane how much power that bike had, and the battery capacity, man, you could ride for days, 6, 7, 8 hours of non-stop push and high battery assistance, and you wouldn't have any issues. But my issue was that, number one, I ended up actually getting the wrong size bike. It was a size too big for me, and that's something I realized after I actually received the bike. The bike was a size medium, and if you look at the geometry, it's actually comparable to a size large. And I'm maybe 5'6", probably 5'5", and a large size bike was not going to do anything for me. The other major issue I had with the bike was weight. Like most people, or I guess like some people, I'm not really sure, I initially got a mountain bike because I told myself, hey, I need a bike to go get exercise. Gyms are closed, facilities are closed, sports complexes are closed. You need to get out of the house. I don't like running on concrete, so go get yourself a bike. But the first thing you end up doing is going on YouTube. And when you go on YouTube, you run across e-bikes. I didn't even know what an e-bike was. Now, the thought of it sounded very enticing. You know, I think when you're online and you're looking at e-bikes and you are not someone who has prior experience in mountain biking and know what makes a mountain bike a good bike or a bad bike, an e-bike sounds absolutely insane. I mean, it looks so enticing. You sit there for months contemplating which one to get, you know, how much power you need, what it's gonna feel like, all these type of things, you know. And the reality of it for me is I didn't need it at all. it's not actually what I was looking for. My biggest problem with e-bikes are weight. And I don't know for professional mountain bikers if they can chuck around a 55-pound bike, but I think your average Joe is going to have difficulty with it. I started to get very comfortable with the bike, but I noticed that going around technical trails, I'd start to have a lot of difficulty with tight turns, and I would start to have just issues with the bike. It felt too big, too heavy. It felt just like a big weight that you were carrying around. It felt like you were a hot air balloon and tied to you was a big rock. The bike didn't feel agile, it didn't feel light, it didn't feel nimble. So as you start to learn mountain biking and riding on trails and whatnot, you realize, oh well, this is not fun. Then you find out that regular mountain bikes are 28-30 pounds, and that's why you see people jumping all around and roosting, and you say, oh okay, well, looks like this is what I'm missing out on. Pretty early into my ownership, I had a pretty good idea that I was gonna have to get rid of the e-bike. Now my issue with that was, well, what am I gonna replace it with? How am I gonna sell it? Who's gonna buy it? This is a $4,000 bike. I just paid all this money for it. How much money am I gonna lose? What bike am I even gonna buy? Because there are a lot of different bike brands that you can purchase. Now, there are direct-to-consumer bike brands, and there are store bike brands. Well, as I'm sure everybody knows, with the pandemic, there are no bikes at stores unless you're trying to buy a double extra large bike that's $12,000. So with that being said, I started to look into direct-to-consumer bikes, which is pretty much what my e-bike was. And I said, well, what brands are there? Let me look at reviews. Let me look at, you know, what are people buying? What are people interested in? I started learning about components of the bikes, you know, drivetrain, brakes, suspension, etc., etc., etc. And I started looking into YT. And the reason why for that is actually the first bike that I was intentionally trying to buy was a Jeffsy. And you see the reviews online about how people think about the Jeffsy and what they thought of it, and people are absolutely in love with the bike. So when I got on their website, I see they're sold out. From the base model to the most expensive model, they got nothing. So I asked myself, well, what are you gonna do? So I started thinking to myself, I said, well, I do have an enduro bike now, and I wouldn't mind just getting another enduro bike. So I started looking into the Capra, and my intention was to buy a competition pack one, which has the, you know, Fox shocks and SRAM NX or GX, one of those drivetrain, and it's carbon fiber, and you know, all this type of stuff for, you know, $3 grand before taxes and shipping. But again, they were out. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to sell my e-bike and not lose very much money. Hey. So at that point, I went on their website and I saw that they had the Capra Pro Race available in a size small, which was what I was looking for. Now, there's a big difference in price. You know, after taxes and shipping, you're looking at less, you know, close to $6,000 compared to, let's say, $3,500. But like everybody else, you want the bike so bad, you start to convince yourself it's worth it. Okay. So I started to have a debate with myself for about a month, saying, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? What are the differences? And when I got to the differences, that's when I realized you would be absolutely crazy to not get the top of the line model. The reason for that is because the brakes that you get, if you go out and purchase these yourself, if you go out and purchase these wheels, you know, this handlebar, this X01 drivetrain, man, I'm telling you guys, the components of this bike, I looked, they're worth like $4,500. And it just makes you think, you know, how are they able to sell these bikes for this price when Specialized and Santa Cruz and these brands are selling bikes for double the price with lesser components or debatably equal components? So I said, whether you're paying $3,000 or if you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000, this is a bike that you're going to keep for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. You know, it's always better to be overbiked than underbiked, in my opinion, because I see people take these underbiked bikes to trails and end up regretting it. You're risking injury, you're risking damaging your bike. So I would rather be overbiked and grow my capabilities to be able to match the bike. Now obviously right now I don't think I can even tap into 50% of what this bike is capable of, especially where I live here in Texas, because it's very flat, not a lot of enduro style riding or downhill riding. But for my personal choice, I decided it was worth it, because my intention is to move to the Pacific Northwest, and specifically to British Columbia, because that's where my wife's family lives and that's where we intend to move. As I'm sure you guys know, there's plenty of YouTubers out there that ride out there, and you know, they've got either enduro bikes or they've got downhill bikes. The bike is absolutely phenomenal. The two things that I noticed immediately were the X01 drivetrain and the brakes. And the third, I would say, would be the lightness. Because the size is much better suited to my body size, it feels so nimble, guys. It feels so good. I'm telling you, man, it feels absolutely phenomenal. And I couldn't be happier with my purchase. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I really haven't been able to take it out much with everything going on and raising a family and personal responsibilities and, you know, recovering from injury. So hopefully I get the opportunity to start being able to ride the bike as fall is upon us and the temperatures cool down. If I had any comments to say about the Lunicycle enduro bike I had, I would say, you know, if you're somebody who's just trying to cruise along but wants extra suspension and extra help, man, I'm telling you guys, it is a great bike. Doesn't come with the greatest suspension, doesn't come with the greatest brakes. I personally never had issues with stopping power, but then again, I'm a beginner, so I'm not really pushing the limits very high. The one thing I absolutely had an issue with, and I think a lot of people do, was the SRAM SX drivetrain. I mean, that thing was absolutely junk. I adjusted it so many times, make sure it was lubricated. I did so much, and I just could not get that thing to shift nice. Night and day difference between that and the X01 drivetrain that I have now. Night and day difference. If you're somebody who doesn't care about jumping, if you don't care about being super aggressive, you just want to get out to the trails just to enjoy being out and getting exercise in and, you know, whatnot, then I could not recommend that bike enough. But if you're somebody who's looking into mountain biking to expand your skills, try to reach your potential, try to reach your limits, I think if you're getting any bike that's not a, you know, specialized Levo SL, which is like 38 pounds, then forget about it. You know, you see all these professional riders who are sponsored by bike companies and they're just pushing out, you know, e-bikes to the public on their YouTube channels. Hey, listen guys, I mean, that's their job, you know. They've got to advertise these bikes to the public and make them look as enticing as possible, because that's the product that they need to sell. But I promise you, behind the scenes, they are not riding those bikes. They are not as fun, you know. And I found that out quick, man. I tell you what, I found that out quick. Because it's pretty much doing all the work for you. And depending on what your intentions are with a mountain bike, I mean, that could make it or break it for you. For me, ended up being a bad deal, but I'm happy I was able to give it to a new owner. Really nice guy, purchased the bike from me. He was happy with the price. I was happy with the price. I mean, the bike was only a month old. I think I had less than 200 miles on the bike, and it was in tip-top condition. Had no damages, and I was happy with the deal myself because I didn't lose a major amount of money either. So I think it worked out great for both of us. With that being said, I'm loving the new bike. I absolutely love the way it looks. I'm so happy to have it. And just want to thank you guys for listening up to this vlog. Hopefully I'm going to get back out on the trail soon. Another reason for actually posting this video is because this is actually being recorded on a GoPro 8. I had a GoPro 5 and I was looking into a gimbal, and then looking at prices, I said, man, for $50–$60 I can just go get a new GoPro 8. So I just went ahead and got a new GoPro 8, and this will be my first video that I'm posting to see how the hyper smooth looks. So that's another intent for why I got this bike. So hopefully it looks good for you guys, because I know the other videos were super shaky on the trail. I don't know about you guys, but when I look at them, it makes me feel nauseous. It makes me feel like I got vertigo. So other than that, heading home. Hope you guys have a blessed day, a blessed week, a blessed month, a blessed year. Stay positive, stay happy, stay focused, stay motivated, stay healthy, have a goal in mind no matter what you're doing in life, and take care of yourself, take care of those around you, and just try to be happy. So thank you guys for watching the video. I will be posting more in-depth videos talking about the new bike, talking about some of the components, talking about why I purchased it, how I feel about it, you know, after a month of riding, after 6 months, etc., etc. And hopefully you guys will be there to hear me talk about it. So other than that, peace out. Bye-bye.